You're listening to Comic Reflections, episode 213. I'm your host, Nicholas Prom.
I'm Jeff Barnett, love child of Baron Zemo and the Red Skull. It's complicated.
Comic Reflections is brought to you by The Outhouse. You can check out our show and other cool, nerdy things at theouthousers.com. And if you enjoy this show, please subscribe to us on either iTunes or Stitcher. And it'd be really great if you rated and reviewed us on iTunes, too.
Please.
Please! I think I was telling you pre-show before. At the top of every show, and I want to plug another podcast that I listen to. It's really good. My friend Jerry McMullen is the co-host of the worst podcast ever. It's not a statement of their quality. That's what it's actually called. Mm-hmm. And
because we have to be on that.
Yeah, thank you. Let's be honest. No. But also, and that's a fine show. You should check it out. It's kind of a general comics show. But Jerry writes a blog called Essential Showcase, and you can find it at essentialshowcase.com. And every week he writes a blog post reviewing one of the DC Showcase or Marvel Essential volumes. And we are like sisters or sister shows or separated at birth or whatever you want to say, because now our show is really focused from those books. So, cool. Yay! So let's begin. On this episode, we're going to talk about Silver Age Captain America, and starting with Tales of Suspense number 59, which is the November of 1964 issue, and the cover was penciled by Jack Kirby and inked by Dick Ayers. And we have this great. It's a two-feature book. Captain America and Iron Man shared it. Of course, we're just going to be talking about the Cap stories for now. But it's great.
Mm-hmm. Interesting, the two superheroes in a comic book.
And you know why that is, right?
I have my suspicions.
Marvel had a deal where they were distributed through DC. They had DC's distribution model, and that story of where they arrived at that is kind of complicated. I don't get into it so much, but they could only put out, from like 1960 or 61 till about 1968, they could only put out 8 issues a month. Mm-hmm. That was the deal. So they put out 16 bi-monthly books. Mm-hmm. And then the way they could have additional characters or features was by splitting up some of these into anthologies. So Tales of Suspense had Iron Man and Captain America. Strange Tales had S.H.I.E.L.D. and Doctor Strange, and there was one or two others that did that. And it was a pretty good format,
Yeah,
so
not bad.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about 8 10-page Captain America stories today, so yay.
Yeah.
And so let's talk about the story from this issue. Is just called Captain America. It was Stan Lee and Jack Kirby co-plotted this story together, Lee writing, and pencils by Jack Kirby and inks by Chick Stone.
It's Kirby-rific.
Yeah, great splash panel of Captain America just busting through a window or something.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Jack Kirby's well known in the comics world, but he's hardly at all known outside that. And he's probably the most important person in popular culture that nobody knows.
Yeah.
There's probably some people I don't know about, but really, look how many movies comes from his creations.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you're very right. And I think that's shifting as these big movies are becoming more popular, people becoming more aware. But yeah.
I am still mad at Argo. They could have mentioned his name.
Oh, in that movie?
Yeah.
I mean, they credited him in the movie, but I mean, the movie wasn't about him.
No, but hey, and it would brought in some people. Oh, Jack Kirby's mentioned in the movie. It would get some people, comic book fans, coming in just
sure.
See that.
Interesting story though. The movie Argo was the element that Jack Kirby's involved is there was a fake movie based on a science fiction novel called Lord of Light, and Kirby did all the art to kind of storyboard it and what's the word that I'm looking for? The concept art for it. Thank you. And that was kind of incorporated into getting those people out of Iran. They were hostages. If you haven't seen the movie, see it. It's terrific. In the latest issue of Heavy Metal, features much of Jack Kirby's art from the movie Lords of Light, and he's a Kirby cover on Heavy Metal magazine.
Oh, really?
That's a first. Kirby's never been in Heavy Metal until now. The magazine.
I'm still surprised Heavy Metal's still out. I used to read it all the time, but then it got... I don't know. I didn't like any of the people doing
Heavy Metal is a hit or miss magazine because it's always an anthology and it's featuring new people all the time, which is, it can be really great or it can be really meh. So anthology books are like that.
Yeah.
So
the surprising thing about it, I read about the Kirby thing. He was drawing. The drawing is not for a movie. It's for this
theme park
beforehand, which was going to be amazing. I wish I had $1 trillion. I'd make it.
Right?
Yeah.
That's very true. I forgot that aspect. But why don't we talk about our Captain America story?
Oh, let's not. No, say we do.
Oh, okay.
Okay, this is the first Captain America's own magazine, right? This is it. It's the first time, right?
Well,
I mean, he's been there before.
It's his first solo story since his Silver Age revival. Yes, he first obviously came back in. There was an issue of Strange Tales where they kind of had the fake Captain America with the Human Torch. We read that story before as a tryout, but then they brought him back in Avengers #4, and I think it's that. That's right. Yeah.
All right.
But yes, this is his first solo story.
We're at the Avengers mansion, and Captain America is on duty.
Monitor duty.
Yeah. Well, they call it CQ, Charger Quarters in the Army.
Yeah.
I don't know. They don't say how long it was. Is it 24 hours? That's what it was in the Army. And
I don't know.
Yeah. It's sort of odd thing. But so Jarvis is making coffee and all. Then he said, "Oh, I'm going out," which kind of concerns me. The Avengers mansion, it's being watched by the enemy, whoever that is. So they're going to send the butler out for milk and bread. And why? Hey, Tony, why not give an Iron Man suit for Jarvis so he can buy stuff without getting killed or captured? Or...
That's a very valid question. But I have to think in the context of the Marvel Comics world, the Avengers are a new organization. And they're living in a time of a new frontier. The rise of the superhero, and that's a thing, that has kind of been absent from the world since the 40s.
Right.
In the Marvel Universe. So I think these are kind of like, for lack of a better word, oopsies or boners that allow for us room to tell stories of, that's a gap in security that we'll fix later, but here's a reason why that exists. So,
okay. Cap starts reading a book. Then we go to this mob. Isn't
he looking at his scrapbook of his World War II adventures with Bucky?
Yeah, it looks that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did he have his... I wonder where he kept the scrapbook. If he died, if he is frozen.
Here's the thing. If Captain America was, say, a government operative during the 40s, he had to have had downtime and some quarters. So when he was thought dead, I'm sure his personal effects were put into storage. And when he was revived and he's back, then he gets his stuff back. So, but that's a good question.
All right. So we go to this mob, and they think that Captain America is the weakest link. In the show, the metaphor, the mob boss breaks a chain with a weak link. And that's a pretty clever idea.
Yeah. It's interesting because at this time, Captain America is maybe the lowest powered member of the Avengers. Kind of debatable because, Ant-Man and the Wasp are around too.
Yeah.
But
he's nothing but a glorified acrobat. So
says the mobster. I can understand why someone would think that, and it's really new. Captain America hasn't been around for a long time, and so I like the idea of people underestimating him. And then
they play this in the movies too. They play it up in the movies.
Do they?
Yeah, kind of. Because why should we listen to you? And then he beats the crap out of somebody. So, that's why.
Right. So their idea is they're going to ambush Captain America and steal all the Avengers' plans because they found out he's alone at the Avengers mansion.
Yeah. Oh, poor Jarvis. They captured Jarvis. So duh. And go back to Cap. Cap is looking at Bucky, and this is a big thing of Captain America. He feels bad that Bucky died. But they were in World War II. Lots of people died. He punched Hitler out and beat up a bunch of Nazis. For crying out loud, people are going to die. And if you only lost one friend, you ought to count yourself lucky.
But if your closest friend dies, you're still going to be hung up on it.
Yeah, but...
You're going to soldier on because you're Captain America.
Right.
But... And I'm going to start saying it like that. No, I'm not. But yeah, you're going to have those feelings, especially he's a man out of time. He's focusing on his past because that's what he knows.
Yeah. But we see that a lot, and I think it's a weakness of his. He should man up, get over it. It's sort of I mean, people die, and
it was a war.
Yeah,
you make a good point.
Okay. So he said, "Well, this is a bad idea going through my scrapbook because now I'm all emo and all."
Man.
Then he gets attacked, and it's a pretty cool attack. They bring their own. The Bob brings their own Iron Man.
Yeah, they got a guy in an iron suit. It's not like as powerful as Iron Man, obviously.
Yeah, but I wouldn't mess with him. Okay, so they capture Cap, and he gets out with his heels are razor sharp. What does that do to the carpet? For crying out loud.
It'd be bad on linoleum or carpet.
Oh God, yeah, and geez.
Tile would scratch it up. Yeah.
Yeah, that's sort of. I mean, if you had a little thing that flicks out and cuts stuff, that's one thing. But it's razor sharp heels.
And here's the thing: they'll reference it as a plot point, plot device here, but they probably won't make use of it much anywhere else,
right?
Because they want you to forget it. Like, so how we got it out of being tied up or whatever. Yeah. But anyway.
Okay, so all right, we have a big Kirby fight, and it's great.
And Captain America's kicking these guys' asses, even with his feet tied together, jumping around. Those acrobatics that the guys were so derisive of.
Flamethrower and the big guy in the orange suit,
and he beats the crap out of all these guys. It's great.
It's just, only Kirby can do this.
Gene Colan was really good with action too. I mean, there are other guys, but yeah, Kirby was absolutely the best.
But so he beats them all up, and then he just says, "Oh, okay, that's the end of that day." But
I love that he has a great line in the story at the end. It's like, man, you should. It's too bad you weren't here when my friends were around and the Avengers were here. They're really tough.
Yeah.
That's not. I'm paraphrasing a little, but
yeah, but they're all laying around. The bad guys are just knocked out.
Yeah, and it's just a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is.
So let's talk about our next story. This will be from Tales of Suspense number 60 from December of 1964, and the cover is penciled by Jack Kirby and inked by Chick Stone. And we have it's kind of a split cover. It's Captain America fighting some more guys, and Iron Man is fighting Hawkeye.
And cops, it looks like.
Yeah, so wow, what's going on? When we get to the Iron Man essentials, we'll talk about it.
Iron Man wanted for murder. But we were reading Cap Battles the Assassins.
That's right. The Army of Assassins Strikes is the name of the story. But on the cover and the interior, sometimes the story title will have a variance there. Great splash panel there, of course. But yeah, this story was written by Stan Lee, penciled by Jack Kirby, and inked by Chick Stone. So what's going on? Baron Zemo sends these assassins to kill Captain America.
Oh, and they beat the crap out of him. One of these guys has got an iron fist.
Well, first they're fighting a guy who's one of their own that we are led to think is Captain America.
Right. And that Captain America dies, and then all of a sudden, it's not really Captain America.
It's a foolie.
Yeah, exactly. I love that.
Yeah.
And this was done in From Russia with Love, the James Bond movie.
Oh, okay.
And it's well done. So.
Nice.
The best of the Bond movies, I think.
Really? Mm-hmm. Is that the one with George Lazenby?
No, that's a good one too. That's the best of the
non-Connerys?
Yeah, although the latest Casino Royale and the third one, the Casino Royale, the newer version, is really good.
Yeah. Well, the original Casino Royale was a comedy, right?
Oh, yeah, it was.
I have not seen these movies though, so.
Okay.
I really haven't.
But it's a great thing, and it's shocking. So
Yeah,
it fooled me here. So.
I saw this great movie with George Lazenby as the villain. It's called The Man from Hong Kong, and it's kind of a martial arts spy movie. It's great. Seek it out.
Yeah, but on Her Majesty's Secret Service.
That's right.
And that's the James Bond one, and I used the theme song at my wedding.
Nice.
Yeah, we have All the Time in the World.
Wait,
sung
in
by
that
Louis Armstrong.
But in that movie, Bond marries and his wife is killed by agents of Spectre. Right?
Oh, yeah, but I didn't really pick it for that. I picked it because it's a beautiful song.
Okay.
And I like Louis Armstrong. And I like...
Because you're not a commie. Of course you like Louis Armstrong.
Nah, I think it's pronounced Louis, baby. He says so in a song.
Oh, okay.
Yes, sir.
But everyone says Louis Armstrong.
I know. Everyone's wrong.
Okay.
Well, would you
a lot of
everybody or Louis Armstrong says it. So.
Right.
So
Denny O'Neil got called Denny. It's Dennis.
Yeah.
But he got the nickname Denny because the French fans called him Denny because that's how they would say it.
Pronounced as I.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's one of my favorite quotes out of this whole series we've just done. Suddenly, a strangely garbed figure steps out of the shadows, and who is not strangely garbed? For crying out loud. Baron Zemo, who this happens to be, has a mask on and some kind of weird crown.
I like it. But yeah, it's strange.
Yeah. And Captain America is wearing the understated patriotic thing. I mean, the only person who is dressed regularly is Jarvis, and Jarvis would turn heads at the Portland Saturday Market. I mean, for crying, and yeah,
because he looks like a butler from like the 1800s,
right? Yeah,
or the early 20th century. So,
but yeah, it's sort of it would have been more strange if he was dressed normally,
right?
So. Oh.
So anyway, Zemo sends these guys to go assassinate Captain America.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. So Captain America is showing guys it's great to be fit by Captain America beating the crap out of a bunch of guys.
Right. He's giving a demonstration to like a charity event or something like that. And the guys who were gonna pretend mock fight him at the event got switched with actual assassins, Zemo's men.
Yeah. And Cap doesn't know, and then Cap is, oh man, these guys playing rough.
They're playing for keeps, yeah.
So I think he finally figures it out. And,
yeah.
Great Kirby action again.
He beats him up real good.
That's gonna be a broken record, but Kirby does. Oh man, the action is just great.
Yeah, a lot of his action he got from because he would when he was working. Or kind of getting ideas for choreographing stuff. He'd watch wrestling on television.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once that became a thing, he made good use of it.
Yeah. And I wonder if the supervillains came out because of that. Because Gorgeous George was the first supervillain of...
He was a heel of wrestling?
Yeah, I mean, he was the first superstar.
Sure.
Heel. And he was great because he would go in and he'd have spray Chanel number 8 or Chanel number 10 because why be half safe and cry if someone messes with his hair and this really just make that the people who were watching that were steel workers and all that, and they get so angry at him. It's just wonderful. And I think Liberace and Muhammad Ali both got ideas on how to be out there and
create a persona
from that.
Really?
And I'm wondering how much comics have stolen from professional wrestling.
I don't know. I mean, I think that they have definitely fed off of each other. Once they both became pop cultural phenomenon. So
yeah. Who would be the Lex Luthor? Oh, there is a Lex Luthor.
There's a Lex Luger.
Yeah.
But I think I like the old timey wrestlers like George the Animal Steel or Tor Johnson.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right, but that's interesting. But I can see the professional wrestling stuff here.
Yeah.
And it's mostly he is wrestling and throwing people around.
Oh yeah. I think Captain America more than any comic book hero you can see the wrestling influence.
Mm-hmm. Because all he's using is his shield.
Well, and he does a lot of flips and holds and things like that. And it's like, well, duh, where do you think this is coming from?
Right.
A lot of other characters with superpowers, their fights are usually about using the powers. Well, since it's Cap being like peak human physical condition, we really play up the physicality of what he does.
He doesn't have X-ray vision.
Yeah, and he becomes such an exciting hero because he can be in real peril, and he's also a great combatant. The best, the greatest.
Yeah, so...
And you can trick him, too, because he's not like a super detective like Batman.
Yeah. All right, let's see. So, the fight ends and Captain America wins. So, they have a bunch of little, they have... The bad guys have this serum in their glove that they can put over your face and knock you out.
Oh, gas you, yeah. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Zemo is watching this whole thing through like a Visa screen, and then he talks to Captain America. Captain Cap realizes Zemo's watching, and then Cap challenges him to, calls him a coward, calls him out, and then Zemo shoots the TV screen.
Yeah, that's like Elvis.
That'll show him. Yeah. Wasn't that the movie where Kurt Russell played Elvis? Remember? I mean, I'm sure Elvis shot TVs too, but
he supposedly. Who didn't he like? He didn't like some singer, but there's also a movie when Elvis meets Nixon, which is wonderful.
I should see that. Wasn't Rick Jones in this story too?
Yeah. And Rick Jones brings the cops, so he figures out that they're ringers too. So.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
I like Rick Jones as a character a lot. He's the great teen sidekick of the Marvel Universe because he hung out with the Hulk, the Avengers, and Captain America, and then Captain Marvel.
He's not that irritating, so...
He's not irritating at all.
Yeah.
There's another teen sidekick that we'll talk about on our next episode that you may feel differently about.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the story from the next issue, which is Tales of Suspense number 61, cover dated January of 1965, and the cover is by penciled by Jack Kirby and inked by Chick Stone. What's going on the cover here? The cover, not the splash page.
The cover, this big sumo guy is beating up Captain America.
What's Iron Man doing?
Iron Man's fighting the Mandarin.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
So anyway, the story, the Cap story we're going to talk about is called The Strength of the Sumo, and it was written by Stan Lee, penciled by Jack Kirby, and inked by Chick Stone.
I love the beginning here. The last person the communist Viet Cong expect to see on the battlefield of Vietnam is Captain America, but here he is, and away we go.
I think it's very interesting that in 1965, Vietnam wasn't Vietnam yet.
Yeah.
And so the stigma of it, of having a costume hero fighting in that hasn't arrived.
The stigma was after Khe-Sanh, and that's really everyone knew we weren't going to win it.
Yeah, and this kind of also echoes the handful of Captain America ventures from the forgotten Cap stories of the 1950s. Captain America, Commie Smasher, Commie Crusher.
Yeah. All right. Well, Captain America is in Vietnam, as we said, and he surrenders to the Viet Cong. He wants to see their general, and so they take him to the general.
Yeah.
He doesn't sell insurance like one on TV.
Oh,
I don't know. Is that a local one? I wonder.
What are you talking about?
You never see the commercial?
No, I don't really watch television much.
Well, neither do I. But I watch an hour a week, and I see a general. It's a cartoon general selling insurance. So.
Oh, and it's really badly animated.
Yes.
It's like that really low quality CG.
Right.
I think I have seen that. Now I get what you're talking about.
Isn't it interesting that you notice the very good stuff and the very bad stuff?
Yeah. Because it's like jarringly like, wow, that's so low rent. Like, why didn't you just have a real guy?
Yeah.
It would probably be less expensive and look better.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Now, who knows? All right. So.
Somebody's nephew was an animator. That's the answer.
Yeah. Okay, so Captain America surrenders to the Viet Cong. There is your headline.
Very good.
So, to see the general, you got to fight some guys. So Captain America fights two guys. They look really beefy for Viet Cong. Usually the Viet Cong are very small and slight because they're eating fish heads and rice in the jungle. But these guys are professional wrestler looking guys.
Sure. And it's a comic book.
Right.
So.
Alright, it's a pretty cool fight. Cap wins, so Cap goes to see the general. Oh, it's just really well drawn. I love this.
Yeah. So when the general turns out to be this big sumo wrestler.
Oh, yeah. No wonder we lost the Vietnam War. The Japanese are helping the Vietnam.
Well, I was just gonna say, somebody forgot to tell Stan and Jack that Vietnam is not Japan.
Right. Oh, what's that Hank Hill episode? I think it's the first one.
Were they Chinese or Japanese?
No.
You know, but I remember being a kid thinking those were the only two kinds.
Well, yeah. I think everyone started that way. So
yeah, I mean,
there's Laotian and Thai and, Indonesian and
Vietnamese.
Korean,
I mean, there's a lot of folks that fall under the banner of Asians, and there's a great deal of variance culturally and in look and characteristics.
I must say I don't like the word Asian because Asian would include Russians, Pakistanis, Indians.
Right, we're meaning ethnically non-Caucasian when we say that. But
Oriental is a bad word now, but it's.
If someone says Oriental, I think you're talking about a rug. But But you know, it's the verbiage changes over time, and that's just a natural thing.
Yeah. But it's absurd that he's a sumo wrestler, and he's wearing that sumo outfit.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what you call that, but
a diaper.
It's probably called something. Although the most famous, the biggest and the most successful sumo wrestler now is Hawaiian.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So
yeah, they've got some big fellas from there too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Okay. So,
also, a group of people who have a great deal of ethnic diversity. Mm-hmm. You know, Polynesian Islanders or Pacific Islanders. If there's, Anyway.
Let's see. He's trying to rescue. The reason Cap has surrendered and wanted to see the general is to get Jim Baker.
Not the televangelist.
Right. Or the Secretary of State.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
But he's a brother of someone who saved Cap's life in World War II.
Yeah.
So.
I don't think the character will be referenced again. It was just a reason for Cap to personally get involved in the rescue.
Why not beating up commies? I would think that'd be the best. That's a reason enough. That's too much reason.
I think having a personal connection to it rather than it be we're fighting for America's interest, because it gives layers to Cap.
Yeah,
and he's not just a tool of the government.
I think that's fine, but I think it fails here. That's what I'm saying.
But see what I mean? Mm-hmm. Being that he's rescuing the brother of a guy that saved him, it's a personal thing. It's not a jingoistic thing.
Yeah.
So.
I don't know.
And if Cap was written poorly, he would be written that way. Kind of like the 50s Cap, Captain America, Commie Smasher. So.
Yeah. Okay, so he beats up the sumo wrestler. And escapes in a jet. So,
these plots are kind of simple, but visually they're so dynamic. It's Captain America kicking the crap out of a bunch of guys. It's great.
Yeah, exactly.
So Cap rescues Jim in the end.
Yeah. Oh, someone asked him in the issue 4, how'd you do it, Cap? And he said, with relish. So I thought it was.
I did it with mustard, but So the next issue we've got to talk about is Tales of Suspense number 62, cover dated, February of 1965. The cover, of course, penciled by Jack Kirby and inked by Dick Ayers, and it's one of those split-level covers. Iron Man's still fighting the Mandarin, and Cap's on another adventure too. This adventure takes place in prison, America prison, not like a prisoner of war camp. And the story is called Breakout in Cell Block 10, written by Stan Lee, penciled by Jack Kirby, and inked by Chick Stone.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we start off with Cap is in a prison, and he's beating up some people, and it's really just to show how safe the prison is, and how hard it is to escape from.
Right.
And something is up because the guy in charge is bald, and smoking a cigarette like a European does.
With the cigarette holder?
No.
Oh, just...
They're just really holding it weird. See, he's holding it kind of
Yeah, it is kind of
underhand
oddly.
instead of overhand. Like that.
Interesting.
That's always a sign of evil.
Oh, okay.
So,
But
this helps you in real life too.
so really, it was a couple of guys meant to look dressed in prisoners' uniforms, fight Cap in front of the quote-unquote warden. But really, a few prisoners have already, taken over the prison, and Cap doesn't know about it.
Okay.
So
Right.
and this warden is a prisoner.
Yeah. The deacon. So,
Right, the deacon. Right.
So, Cap finds out about the underhandedness quickly as he's captured and put into cell block 10.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and he fights. Oh, I love it when Cap is captured by and he's struggling and you just
They
feel
got
the
his
power
arms
of him.
behind his back,
Yeah,
and you see they can barely contain him.
Yeah, it is really well done.
Yeah.
So he meets the real warden, and they find out that the deacon wants to get out of the prison, but they have to go through this door, which is the coolest door ever.
Yeah, it's like magnetically locked, and you can't get out of it because there's a password.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
Yeah. Oh, it is.
they
just
think
awesome.
they can use the magnetic stuff in Captain America's shield to open the door. That's why Cap was lured there in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Well, so they're working on the door while they had put Cap with the real warden in the cell,
Right.
and then Cap gets out.
And they realize also his shield won't work. The magnetics that make Cap's shield return to him, Cap has removed from the shield because he thought it was too bulky, and it impeded the natural aerodynamics of throwing it, whatever.
Oh, cool. So it's there's a lovely panel where Captain America throws his mighty shield, and then we just have all this stuff is flying around.
Right. It shows the impact, and you see like the boots and the cap, like the
And
prisoner's
guns
cap
and
and stuff, just kind of
hands.
flying away.
Yeah.
It is terrific.
Mm-hmm.
The dynamism that you'll see in nearly every panel from Kirby is just terrific.
Right. Yeah. Old Thumper is there. Yeah. We'll see Thumper again, I guess, sometime.
Sure.
I think we'll see the Deacon again once. We'll have to read all the Captain Americas because he is in Riker's prison,
Oh, okay.
which I guess breaking out of prison is his thing. I don't know.
Okay.
So
Well, everybody has their stick,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Guess that's his. So Cap beats up all these guys and frees the real warden and stuff and guards. And
Oh, okay. First, he tells them how he gets out of the jail cell. He folds up a piece of paper so the door doesn't lock when they close the door.
oh, right.
Which is fairly clever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't tell the prisoners that, though. I don't think it'll work on prison doors because they're more robust. Maybe.
Right.
Also, I think you can... Well, maybe that time you couldn't. But I think... Yeah, I think probably the guards check the doors, make sure they're closed.
Sure.
And the prisoners are too stupid to make sure it's locked.
Sure. And it's just a plot device in a comic book.
Right.
So-
But, I mean, that will work in regular doors.
Sure.
But go back to the cool door, which is
That's barring the prisoners from actually escaping.
Mhm. That's the MacGuffin in the whole thing.
It has a password. 2 words.
Yeah. What could they be?
Captain America.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if that's supposed to be ironic or it's just supposed to be
It's
like
supposed to be. It's not ironic. Well, yeah, a little bit ironic, but a little bit. Oh, Captain America's cool. So you know.
And it's also the last panel and that reveal in the last panel is very reminiscent of like the people walking away and the nice music playing in old movies. Like everything's hunky dory now.
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
it's a lovely day. You know, it's yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't notice this. Okay. Promise you won't miss our next CA thriller. There'll be a different type of adventure in a Marvel land. You know what that means. What does that mean?
That it's great because this is the Marvel Age of Comics.
But if it's different,
it's more
so this
Stan Lee
was-
hyperbole.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I don't. Yeah. But yeah, I don't understand what that. So does that mean it's the origin of Captain America?
Well, what it is they're realizing because they're having Captain America featured in every issue of the Avengers,
Yeah.
that it's easier to go back and tell retro stories of Cap in World War II than to tell current ones alongside it and try and fit that into continuity. Because they're still world building. It's still very early in the Marvel Comics universe, and that makes it a lot easier. Oh, the only current timeline adventures of Captain America are in the Avengers, and everything, and his other solo stories are taking place in the past.
So a different type is when we go back in time and
we're telling a new story but set in the Golden Age.
Okay.
So yes, anyway, this will be Tales of Suspense number 63, cover dated March of 1965. The cover, the Captain America portion of the cover, is penciled by Jack Kirby and inked by Saul Brodsky, and the Iron Man half is penciled by Don Heck and inked by Dick Ayers. And of course, the origin of Captain America is written and co-plotted by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, penciled by Jack Kirby, and inked by Frank Giacoia.
You notice that the Captain America
on the cover,
it has, I've forgotten what's his original name.
Steve Rogers.
Steve Rogers, the original, and he's really small, and Captain America's towering over him. It looks like the original Hulk cover.
Or a popular image you'll see of Captain Marvel appearing with Billy Batson.
Really?
Yeah, you've seen that.
Yes, I have.
So,
all right.
But yes, I mean, it's a dynamic pose for a cover. But you're right. You'll see that on the very issue of the first issue of the Hulk. Good eye. Which would have preceded this publishing wise. So, but yes, the origin of Captain America.
Yeah. All right. Destined to become the most honored series in Marvel Age of Comics. Is it the most honored?
No, hyperbole.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dramatic. Hyperbole.
No, I don't. But they make the dramatic effect from that is what hypes you up, gets you excited.
Yeah.
Imagine being a kid in 1964 reading this comic book. Wow. Destined to be the most honored, series in the history of Marvel Comics or of comics. Neato Kano. So, anyway.
Okay. It's World War II. So, and Nazis are blowing up everything in America.
Man, that sucks.
Yeah. So they got Operation Rebirth, which is going to make a super soldier serum.
Yay.
Oh, and the general comes around and they visit this place, and they come in, and this old lady comes in pulls a gun on them, and it's a secret location. So,
right, it's like an antique store, but it's a front for the scientific laboratory or whatever, the government lab. And then once they've said the right password, she takes off the mask, and it's this lovely girl, which is great.
All right, so they show Rogers, and he's really weak. And
he had tried again and again to enlist, and he was 4F, but they chose him because he was such a good guy or whatever. He was perfect, and they wanted a weakling for the experiment.
Right, and man, he must have been really bad. I mean, they'd let me in, and I've always been a 98-pound weakling until I turned into a 200-pound fatty.
And also, World War II, they may have had stricter standards.
No.
No?
No.
Okay.
Towards the end, they were getting everybody. They're really worried about the invasion of Japan as we were getting low on troops.
Oh, really?
So, but all right. So, Steve is kind of worried, but he's taking him like a man.
Yeah.
And they give him the serum, and he becomes.
He drinks it and becomes,
Yeah, you always think powerful. They ought to inject it, or something. Drinking it seems to be.
It's kind of weird. That's how. But whatever. It is a comic book.
Yeah, right. In the movie, it's more.
They put him in a machine, and he's given the Vita rays, and I think that makes a little more sense.
Yeah, but all right, but you just can't get rid of those Nazis. There's a even all that
security stuff.
Here comes a Nazi.
There was a Nazi infiltrator, and he says, some death to American swine or whatever.
Down with democracy, down with freedom. The Third Reich shall live forever. And the Nazis just write themselves, don't they?
Yeah, they do. And so He kills Professor Reinstein or whatever, whoever the professor is that gave him. No, I'm not making it up.
I know, but yeah,
Doesn't matter. We'll just go on. And so Cap beats up the Nazi, and because the professor had kept all the notes in his head, there can only be one super soldier.
Yeah, that's not a good plan, or is it?
Well, it was so that the Nazis couldn't steal it. See?
I mean, really, the Nazis were that so good at espionage? There's no safe place.
Also, it makes for a reason. Well, they made one super soldier. Why didn't they make
Exactly.
1,000?
That's the real reason.
It's one way to keep. You got to tighten up those plot holes because that would be a huge one.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. The ironic thing is that the Nazis did have spies and all that, but almost every single one was captured early in the war and was turned into a double agent.
right. But Captain America, the comic, actually debuted before our entrance into the war. It was before Pearl Harbor.
Yeah, he was anti-Nazi before anti-Nazi was cool.
Yes,
and that's
it was a huge hit, and it actually really helped galvanize, that anti-Nazi sentiment, which was growing already. Yeah. The anti-Nazi sentiment.
Yeah, it was controversial because people didn't want to go back to Europe. They'd gone to World War I and the flags waving, and
we had entered World War I kind of late in the game, and America had adopted kind of an isolationist attitude since then. And also, we have to remember the late 30s and prior to our entrance into World War II, Americans were divided. There were a lot of people who were sympathetic to the Nazis.
Yeah,
that changed.
Oh. The people who thought that Mussolini and very early on and Hitler were great guys is long. I mean, famous people and intellectuals from the left and right. And it's,
well, and also in the first half of the 20th century, the idea of eugenics, which were being, propagandized and put to use in Nazi Germany, a lot of people thought that was a great idea.
Yeah.
They didn't
actually, it probably came more from America. And Britain than from Germany. I think they took it from them.
Well, right. I mean, Western nations certainly influence each other. So.
Yeah. All right. So. Okay. Here's.
So Captain America becomes Captain America, and he's fighting Nazis all over the place, stateside.
And he hides out in the army, which is utterly ridiculous. You just can't do that. I mean, you got to get up for reveille. They count. Then they have. Sergeants are always looking for someone to do some back-breaking, monotonous work.
Yeah.
And it's worse. It'd be worse than being a TV anchorman.
It's very weird. I understand why they chose to make him a GI, so there would be connectivity with the soldiers, at least originally, when it was published. But really, it makes much more sense for Captain America to be a special agent who is deployed strategically by the government.
Right. Yeah.
I'm sure that's also going on too, but the idea of Private Rogers as a cover is pretty bad. And that the camp has a mascot.
I mean, camps have mascots, but they're never a kid or something like that, or like that. And yeah,
we do have to just be like, it is a comic book.
Right. So let's see. Who is Sergeant?
Sergeant Duffy.
Yeah. He doesn't like Rogers at all. And,
Duffy's an okay guy, really.
I'm sure he is. Oh, I would have beat the crap out of Private Rogers for all that crap. It's just, yeah. But, yeah, that's interesting though. I don't like him in the army, but what can you do? So I didn't write the thing. All right, so
You didn't? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. All right, so Captain America beats up some Nazis,
and Bucky does too. Oh, because Bucky, the camp mascot, stumbles across Steve, changing into Captain America outfit, and of course, you gotta make me your partner now.
Looks like I've got no choice. Yes, you do.
Yeah, you have all kinds of choices, like forget you ever saw me.
Yeah, if you like living. Bucky.
Yeah. But in the 40s, the kid sidekick was almost,
required.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to.
Even Superman had a sidekick, but Jimmy Olsen did it okay because Jimmy Olsen had his own life and all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, and Jimmy wasn't introduced right away.
Right.
But early on, I think they developed the idea of like, having these close supporting cast members close to Superman really helps us to have good stories that are dramatic.
Mm-hmm.
Superman's a different animal than any other superhero, though.
Mm-hmm.
So,
the real reason for there's a couple of reasons, I guess, for a sidekick. Yeah. So the kid who's reading it can, I could be Bucky or something.
Because it's funny because it's a misunderstanding of the adults creating it, thinking, a kid would love that, or they need to have a kid to relate to, when they already got the hero worship going on.
Right.
I think that's probably why Captain Marvel was so wonderful, because he's a kid who becomes an adult.
Mm-hmm. And that's cool. That's why people like the Hulk. Hulk out. You're being picked on at school, and then you can Hulk out and beat the crap out of the bully.
Sure.
And that is great wish fulfillment and all that. Also, the sidekick the hero has someone to talk to.
Yeah, and actually that's probably even a bigger reason than the misunderstanding of needing someone to relate to, is especially a solo hero, because superhero teams really didn't come into fashion until the Silver Age. There was the Justice Society, there were the Seven Soldiers of Victory, but these are outliers.
Mm-hmm.
So, but having Robin is introduced, so Batman had someone to talk to, and I'm sure Bucky is the same way.
Right. Mm-hmm. All right. So they beat up some saboteurs come in on
ship
on a submarine, the Nazi submarine, and then they send out these explosives and blow up the submarine. The people captured here are going to be shot. Yeah. And which is kind of, oh well, that's what you do when you capture a spy, you shoot them. Well, that's what's supposed to happen.
Well, yeah. Traitors and spies. Yeah, you execute them. Mm-hmm. That's what you do in a war. Right. So it's so funny because Cap and Bucky kind of laugh about it when they blow up the ship full of Nazis or whatever. But whatever. Again, it's a war.
It's like a symphony, Cap. Yeah. Oh well.
Yeah.
They shouldn't have attacked Poland.
Yeah. So the next issue is Tales of Suspense number 64, which is the cover dated April of 1965. And the cover is penciled by Jack Kirby and inked by Chick Stone. Got a couple of dynamic images of there's Iron Man fighting Hawkeye again,
and a new Black Widow.
Yeah. And of course Cap is also kind of on the cover, minimized against Sando and Omar, who we're going to read about. So the story is called Among Us, Wreckers Dwell, written by Stan Lee, penciled by Jack Kirby, and inked by Frank Giacoya.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Introducing the mind-staggering villainy of Sando and Omar. I love that.
Yeah.
All right. So Sando and Omar are, I don't know, some kind of vaudeville type thing where
it's a stage act.
A stage act. Omar is a big-headed, dwarf-looking thing, and he imagines these things blowing up like troop trains and munitions factories. Sando is in charge of it. He's the MC or whatever, master ceremonies.
And we see the mental projections from Sando, or is it Omar? I can't.
Omar is the
bald-headed little dwarf guy. Okay. Anyway, but it gets complicated, and then those events really occur.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't. Okay. Well, we'll get into it, I guess.
So Steve and Bucky are back at the army base peeling potatoes.
Oh God! I never had to peel potatoes. I had to shell eggs. That was tremendously difficult.
Yeah, I imagine it would be hard-boiled eggs. I'm assuming.
Yeah, I mean a bunch of them.
Right.
Yeah. So. Okay. Steve Rogers peeling eggs. He leaves some taters. He's peeling taters. He leaves them out on the steps. Sergeant Duffy comes in, chews them out, then trips on the potatoes, and then kicks them off KP. KP is usually a well, everyone has to do KP, but it's often used as a punishment. Um, you should get punished. I think that's, excuse me, Sergeant Duffy would have punished them more by making them do more KP.
Right.
Oh,
Doesn't quite make sense, but comic books.
Yeah. So they get leave. You have to ask. At this time in the Army, you had to get leave or pass in order to get off the base.
Yeah.
So I guess Bucky and Cap get a pass to go see Sando and
Omar.
Omar.
So yeah, they're seeing all these disaster things. Anyway, it reveals that they're in league with saboteurs, and they're kind of like, the whole plan is like it's like a propaganda thing to scare Americans. And they're just projections of events that were filmed kind of like directly before,
or something
and it's
that.
out before and they're showing it to this audience before the news hits of those things, so it looks like they predicted it.
Yeah.
This story couldn't happen today in our 24-hour news cycle.
Mm-hmm.
It's an interesting sign of the times, and it's a 1960s interpreting lens of the 40s, which is also interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a stupid plan.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's meh. I didn't like the story at all. But anyway, Captain America beats him up, and
that's about it.
And Captain Bucky reveal that they were traitors.
Yeah. Oh, and there's Agent
13.
13's here.
This is Peggy Carter, and then of course her granddaughter or niece or whatever, I can't remember, Sharon Carter in the Silver and Bronze Age and onward becomes Cap's girlfriend.
All right.
So.
Yeah. So that's a cool fight.
Yeah.
And but Sando gets his butt kicked. Nomar is this innocent freak.
Who is being used.
Yeah.
So they don't beat him up, and that's nice. But yeah, that story.
Yeah.
But now, the next stuff we're going to talk about, I think it's the last two stories we'll talk about for this episode. Now we're talking. So we've got Tales of Suspense number 65, cover dated May of 1965. The cover is penciled by Jack Kirby and Chick Stone, and the cap story is called The Red Skull Strikes, written by Stan Lee, penciled by Jack Kirby, and inked by Chick Stone. Great cover, with Cap bursting onto the scene and the Red Skull ordering men to kill him, and then a just as good splash panel of more of the same.
Yeah. And the Iron Man has a new Iron Man fights the old Iron Man.
Yeah, because Iron Man was always updating his armor, and so we have the classic red and yellow Iron Man fighting the original golden one or the steel gray one.
Yeah.
I don't recall because we're in the Marvel Essentials and they don't have color. So
too bad.
Yeah, but since that's what we're going to be talking about for like the remainder of the show forever, let's try not to make a habit of complaining about it.
I wasn't going to.
I know it. I'm surprised.
I know. I decided not to.
Oh, thank you, because I kind of expected it and expected to have to call you on the floor.
Yeah. Where's the color at?
Yeah.
It's as bad as that movie Wizard of Oz. They thought of the color in the first part of the film.
Right.
Okay.
That is though the opening with the black and white and then closing or then going into color is just magical.
Yes, it is.
And it's the effect is so great, and it's neat because of that time like there was black and white and color films coexisting.
Right.
What a great time to go to the movies.
Yeah.
When those were
1939, I think, is made, and it's probably the best year of movies ever. There's a ton of great films.
Son of Frankenstein came out that year. That's one of my favorites. So the
Stagecoach did, which is the first of the adult
westerns.
Yeah. And I don't mean X-rated. I mean for grown-ups.
Yeah.
So
because prior to that it was kind of a kiddie matinee genre.
Right.
But isn't Stagecoach? That's a John Ford movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Anything John Ford is worth watching.
John Carradine's in that, right?
Yes, he is.
Is John Agar in that too?
No.
No.
Just the Duke. And some other people you'd recognize.
Cool.
So, all right. What's going on? Oh, Steve Rogers,
And Bucky.
no, he's and I guess in Bucky, he drops off this important officer, and the officer gets killed by the Red Skull. So
Yay! Well, not yay, but you know.
yes, you're a big Red Skull fan. I'm not as.
You're
not
less of a fan.
Yes. Excuse me.
You're fine.
All right. So. All right. So the Red Skull has. What is the plot of this? I forgot. It's something like there's some kind of magical elixir or something. I don't know.
I think there's a chemical plant, the Maxon chemical plant. I think.
Yeah.
I actually totally forgot what the plot of this was either.
It was so inconsequential. So.
Yeah, it was just how can we have the Red Skull?
Yeah, and fighting some Nazis and pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man,
there was this guy Maxon, and that U.S. officer was in league, I think, with the Red Skull or something like that, right?
No, he wasn't. But the guy who Maxon makes bombers, but Maxon was actually the Red Skull, I think, and then in this one.
Well, Maxon, we are led to think. Okay, Maxon is pretending to be the Red Skull.
Yeah.
And it was revealed at the end that the Red Skull, he was just an agent of the Red Skull. There's a reason this story exists. In 1941, when Captain America Comics #1 came out, they introduced the Red Skull, and it was the Maxon Skull, and he was killed in that first issue. Red Skull is such a great villain. They have him come back a few issues later, and the Johann Schmidt Red Skull that we are more familiar with is introduced, and that the Maxon Skull wasn't the real Skull. This is referencing that.
And this is really Maxon. He's the Red Skull playing Maxon, who is played by someone else.
Right.
So this, oh man, that's no wonder I got confused. So
yeah.
So he leaves, and the Red Skull does, and he leaves his list of people to kill, and it's like Major, Coy, General Curtis, Captain America, and Bucky. So Captain America and Bucky hasn't been killed yet. They're next on the list.
Right. I like how there was a list of 4 people, and two of them are crossed out.
Yeah, like I need to remember who I'm going to kill. It's sort of. But it's like Joe Schmo, the guy who pumps gas down the street. I might have to write his name down, like Captain America and Bucky. And,
Oh, who? Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about our last story for the episode. This is from Tales of Suspense number 66, cover dated June of 1965, and the cover was penciled by Jack Kirby and inked by Frank Giacoya. Tell me what's going on the cover.
Okay, let's see. Iron Man is underwater.
Oh, he's fighting Atuma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And looks like Captain America is captured by the Red Skull.
Yeah. Okay, so this story we're going to read is called The Fantastic Origin of the Red Skull, written by Stan Lee, penciled by Jack Kirby, and inked by Chick Stone. So Cap has been captured by the Red Skull, and he's in the interrogation room, and they're kind of torturing him. They're softening him up, trying to get him to talk about whatever.
Yeah.
And the Red Skull, thinking Cap is at his mercy, decides to tell him his origin.
Right. And he tells him that wasn't the real Red Skull last month. So
yeah.
So he gets all buddy Red Skull and doesn't. Oh, let me tell you what happened.
Because the Red Skull is totally a movie serial type villain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he was this little kid in Germany and he was beaten up all the time. So he learns that the stronger you are, the more you get.
Sure. And
he's living out, and he sleeps in the straw in a barn, and he's getting a sob story, and Cap says, "Oh, a lot of people have had bad lives," and so Red Skull knocks him over with his fist. So then he's going back to the story. He sees these Nazis, and boy, they're neat. So, and he likes the Nazis. But he works in a hotel where Adolf Hitler is at. So he's delivering. I don't know what is he delivering? I guess
He's a bellhop, so he's bringing them whatever.
Yeah. And then Hitler says, "Oh, I'm going to make him to a super soldier."
Because he's lecturing like Goring or whatever, saying like I can turn any man into like the ultimate Nazi.
Mm-hmm.
And so he sees something in this bellhop, and he decides to, make an example of him. And so he trains him, and he gives him this great costume, the mask.
I don't like the costume.
Really?
It looks like his pajamas.
It's a
swastika on
It's a jumpsuit suit with a swastika on it, and the Red Skull mask, which is awesome.
Yeah.
That you can't deny.
Yeah. You never see Johann Smith, which is John Smith.
Yeah.
We never see his face.
No, I can't think of a time I do.
And we don't hear. I don't think we ever
No.
do.
I think they did a similar thing, like Dr. Doom,
Right.
So
Mm-hmm.
maybe they're saying something about villainy as a mask. I don't know.
Or leaving that to your imagination.
Or hiding behind, something else. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or it could be just it's a good idea.
Yeah. I love the scene where Hitler is seeing Johann Schmidt being trained and says, no, you can't dress like a stormtrooper. Let me make him an outfit. I don't know.
So it's like a gas station attendant jumpsuit with a big swastika on it.
Yeah, and I don't know. I thought the Red Skull is the worst dressed person in Nazi Germany.
Because all the SS uniforms are kind of regal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look awesome. I
Yeah.
really hate the Nazis. They made these great uniforms and no one can ever wear them without.
Right.
So, boo.
Sorry.
Hugo Boss made some, Hugo Boss sounds like a comic book villain, but he's actually a famous
Fashion designer.
Yes.
Yeah. I didn't know that. Anyway, I mean, I knew he was a fashion designer. I didn't know he did anything for the Nazis.
Yeah.
But anyway, so while the Skull has told his origin to Cap, Cap breaks free temporarily.
Yeah.
And there's fighting.
Yeah. And Red Skull wins. Ooh.
And they brainwash Cap, and they're gonna use him as a Nazi agent to infiltrate America.
Yeah. And
won't they want him to kill President Roosevelt or something like that?
no, they're gonna kill Ike.
Oh, Eisenhower, that's right.
Yeah. Which had probably been really bad because Ike wasn't a great general, but he was just a great guy making people get along. So
yeah, well, I mean, I think that's a very important role.
yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's about it. That's pretty nice.
Yeah, and it's left on a cliffhanger because there's obviously more to the story.
Yeah. I don't know. Does he kill Ike? I don't know.
I don't think so.
That would be funny.
To do an alternate history, like,
yeah.
That would be. Not funny, but it would be a cool story.
Right. Sort of like Inglourious Bastards.
Which I didn't see.
Which was interesting, but they changed it. But I wish you'd see that because the villain in that is a different villain. He's a likable villain. He is really awful, nasty person, but he's likable. And he's charming, and Red Skull is not that. He's just evil. And I do like the charming, I don't know, sort of...
You remember Houtman Dietrich from the Rat Patrol?
Right.
Great adversary, great villain.
Exactly.
Because he had charm, and he was an interesting guy. I didn't see Inglourious Bastards because the trailers, the clips I've seen from it, it just seems like just vile to me.
The first part of it with the Nazi guy going after Jews is on the edge of your seat tension.
Sure.
The rest of it's vile. Okay. I did not. I don't like shooting prisoners for no good reason. And I was just. I guess Tarantino is saying we're just as bad as the Nazis. I didn't like that either.
Yeah.
Okay. But it's just pretty awesome Captain America, though.
Yeah. A couple weeks we'll talk about some more Captain America.
Oh, no. Oh, yeah. All right. Until then, we'll see you in the funny pages.